Dolphins, welcome back to the show and thanks for tuning in. I'm back on the set to analyze the 53-man roster and the depth chart heading into Sunday, week 1. Football season is about to officially be the regular season where everything counts, and this preseason shit is over with. Now it's all for what counts every single week, what counts on the field. All the talking, all of the, we all going to the Super Bowl. Every team is saying that, but we got to show and prove. And the NFL regular season officially kicks off tonight with the Lions battling the Chiefs. I'm going to be watching that game so I can study the Kansas City Chiefs. And I got to make sure that my fantasy squad is set up right also. I got to get everybody in line. Make sure my starters is in, my backups is in, just in case somebody get hurt. I know what to do for next week. Y'all know what it is. Y'all doing the same thing. And it's some talking heads that have us winning the Super Bowl this year. You know, we got a chance to be really, really special this year. And, you know, you also got some heads that think we might miss the playoffs due to ego and due to, you know, there's only one ball to go around. So maybe it's not going to be able to get to all of the right people. And they also questioning Tua's health, of course. And I'm going to talk about that as well. We'll see how it all plays out. I hope Tua takes the next step and levels up because, you know, if he doesn't and he regresses, USC's Caleb Williams may be a name that might become popular if that happens. And when I look at this roster kind of reminds me of the 1991 Shula Dolphins roster where we only carried 2 tight ends. They say we got 3, but it's looking like 2. And back then you had Farrell Edmonds and Greg Beatty as those 2 tight ends. Hopefully we can finish the season with a record more like the 1990 Dolphins versus the 91, because the 1990 squad went 12-4 and the 91 team went 8-8. 92 we improved from 8-8, and I think we went to the playoffs that year. But the division was almost as rough as it was then as it is now, considering the roster improvements from the Jets and the Bills. You know, then Marino had to slug it out with Ken O'Brien and also Jim Kelly. Tua's going to have to outduel Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen to rule this division. And even though I think the Patriots are finally the 4th best team in this division, you can't count out Bill Belichick. You can't count out Bill O'Brien because his, you know, say what you want about his personality, both of their personalities, those guys are masterminds. They're scientists when it comes to offense and defense. And, you know, I fully expect there to be a challenge, even though I think Mac Jones is going to be the worst quarterback in this division. As we saw from the release of the 2023 53-man roster to start the season, Coach Mike, like I said, only wants to keep 2 tight ends, which are Durham Smythe and UDFA tight end Julian Hill, who showcased all camp and preseason. And I wasn't sure who would distinguish themselves between him, Elijah Higgins, and Leonard Taylor, who was also a tight end that we brought in. He was chosen out of those guys, and I think, you know, he could be the next Farrell Edmonds. I told y'all in shorts, the guy looks like fucking Altered Beast from the Sega Master System. If you know, I'm old enough to have played that, and I'm rooting for him to flourish in this offense. I thought maybe Eric Saubert, who we signed this offseason, could also make this team because he played 60 snaps in the preseason before injury derailed his season. He inked a 1-year deal in March with a cap hit of $1,685,000, according to overthecap.com. But he was placed on injured reserve on August 29th. His injury was never really made public. I know I saw him make plays in preseason, but I guess he fell off from there, and you know, we don't know much else. Tyler Croft was also signed, and he could be considered that 3rd tight end, but he's not on the starting depth chart, and he may be just used in relief role just in case one of them gets hurt. And you got to think, in Mike McDaniel's system, the tight end is not going to be the primary focus of the scheme. That's why Mike Gesicki was shipped off. Or that's why we didn't give him the big contract that he wanted, rather, and he ended up signing with the damn Patriots. Mike Gesicki, I got 2 middle fingers for you for that, because I got love for you, but you with the enemy. So we're trying to stop you whenever we play you, and I hope that you have a shitty season this year. Now, I'm just playing. I want you to have a good season, because once offend, you always offend and for me, so I'm always going to have love for you. Now, one thing we have to remember about Shula is that even though we had Jim Jensen penciled in as a slot wide receiver along Duper Clayton, Tony Martin, and James Pruitt on that 1991 squad, he also used Jim Jensen as a tight end. So even though it says 2 tight ends, Jensen pretty much made 3 to go along with Beatty and Edmonds. And I hope within the next season or 2, we can find a slash type player that Mike can utilize just like that. Obviously, there's only one crash, Jim Jensen, but maybe we can find someone similar. What's his name? Tyree Jackson, the tight end. I think he played for the Eagles. He can play quarterback. Chris Greer, give him a chance. Give him a chance. You never know. Let's go through the rest of the units. At quarterback, we got obviously Tua Tagovailoa, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson at those spots. Tua's going to be the general, and Mike White is going to be the backup. Coach made it known through the media that Mike White is going to be the number 2, Skylar's going to be the number 3. And you can still tell that even though Skylar threw too many interceptions, way too many, in my opinion, in the preseason games, and hasn't looked like the better player from my eyes, the coaching staff, hasn't lost faith in him. And, they're giving him an opportunity to just grow just a little bit more and add more tools under his belt. When I watch tape of Skylar play with us, I like his mobility, and he does a great job of staying in the play even when mistakes happen. And I think where he needs to improve in his play is his play speed. I think he needs to be quicker with everything, getting his head turned around, making decisive throws, and just having more anticipation also for receivers getting open. That needs to be quick as well. I think if he does those things, I think he can be a possible starter one day, just not right now. Mike White is not that far ahead of Skylar, but he has a few more tools. Tua's coming off a season where he showed elite play in his footwork. His footwork was excellent last year. His pocket presence, his accuracy all over the field. And I like how Coach Mike varied his drops coming out of the pocket and his releases from under center and from shotgun. If you focus more on Tua's feet and not on his arm, you'll notice that he had 3-step drops, 5-step drops, rollouts and waggles and play actions both to the left and the right. On top of all that, he was still running Alabama RPO plays as well, using sleight of hand and his quick release to dissect defenses. And props to Coach McDaniel, Coach Bevel, and Coach Smith and all the other offensive coaches for designing the perfect fit as for a scheme for Tua. I could pound the table and say that he's shown enough talent-wise to be paid already. He should be getting paid right now. I mean, the Samoan Assassin, he's leveled up every single year since his rookie year. Last year, he threw for 3,546 yards. It seemed like every year he gets better, with 1,000 more yards. From his rookie year was 1,000 and something. Second year was 2,000 and something. His third year, now it's 3,000. I expect him to hit that 4,000 and something mark this year. 25 touchdowns he had last year. Only 8 INTs. With a quarterback rating of 105.5. And speaking of those interceptions, both last year and the year before, a lot of his interceptions came towards the tail end of the year. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, because obviously you got to play well in December if you're trying to get, into the playoffs. But for the most of the year, he was steady. Like he was, protective of the football. But, he's going to have to improve again this year. And he should have a contract, I think, similar to Justin Herbert's, or get paid more, really, because, in my opinion, I think he's a quarterback that has overall more upside than Justin, even though I'll admit that Justin does have a stronger arm than him going down the field. He could throw the ball 120 yards. He could throw it out of the stadium pretty much. But remember, Tua worked out all off season. He looks like he's added 10 to 15 more pounds. He currently weighs like 227 pounds. I think when he first came in, he was like 216. But you got to factor in the injury history. You have to factor that in. I hate talking about it because you have a lot of fans out there that's been just making memes and talking shit and just piling on the kid because of the injuries. But it is what it is. You know, what's real is real. Real recognize real, and the reality is, you gotta stay healthy, my man. You gotta stay healthy. Those concussions, it's unfair, but it's real. And you know, when you're choosing, it's like when you're looking for females that you want to be with. You know, if you're choosing a chick that you want to smash, or if you want to marry or have a serious relationship with, you got to consider the past before you commit. That's just what it is. She could be bad, she could be fine, she could have a good head on her shoulders and all that. But, you know, if you notice that she's been unavailable in key times in your life, and, you know, you don't know if you could depend on her, you may want to date a little bit longer. You know, you may want to date a little bit longer, see if she can be consistent. You know, and I think that's what the Dolphins are pretty much doing. Chris might have already showed to it a check, like, look, you're gonna be the highest paid quarterback, but I gotta see you complete a full season, my G. You know, if you could do that, you're gonna be papered up for life. First task, first priority, and the next step to getting there is obviously outplaying and beating Justin Herbert to break the tie in this week 1 matchup. For the running back room, we carried 5 running backs, which I'm glad we carried 5. Props to Coach Eric Stoodsville. And Raheem Mostert is probably going to be the lead back. You got Jeff Wilson Jr., who's, you know, him and Raheem Mostert go together like peanut butter and jelly. Devon A-Chain, Salvin Ahmed, and my dog, Chris motherfucking Brooks, who made this team. I'm going to give Eric a lot of credit this year, because I gave him a lot of shit last year, but this looks like an improved unit just from preseason already. I don't have to see week 1 to know that our running backs look better. Raheem bulked up from 205 to 215 to be able to stay healthier and last, you know, for a full season. That makes him around the same size as Dalvin Cook. And that added weight is going to help him break even more tackles. We've seen him breaking tackles last. I was surprised for his size. He got power. He don't just have speed. He got power. He'll run you over. He broke through He broke through all of the Bills, all of their defensive players. He broke through and conquered them in that game that we played against the Bills. I'm hearing that Raheem Mostert is also very focused, especially after hearing about other running backs that we flirted with, like Dalvin Cook, like Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs. Speaking of Jonathan Taylor, I didn't make a video about it, but we did make an offer for him, you know, and listen, I love you, Raheem. You're a dope player, but you ain't better than Jonathan Taylor, dog. You're just not. So don't be mad that we tried to, you know, possibly add Taylor to the mix and have you rotate with him, because Taylor's a beast. You seen that Colts fan last year or the year before last year with his hat on that said, run the damn ball, because that's what the Colts need to do. They looking for another Andrew Luck, another Peyton Manning, and they gonna mess around and lose Jonathan Taylor and lose the best player that's on their team right now, for now, because that Richardson kid that they drafted, maybe that's why they getting rid of Jonathan Taylor, because they probably like, we don't need a good running back. He's going to be doing all the running in this offense, and we're going to have to stop that as well. So, but, you know, they wanted Jalen Waddle in a trade for him. Hell no, we're not doing that. They rabbit-ass mine. I'm glad we didn't make that move. And I would have tried to trade maybe our 2025 first-round pick. I think that, you know, he's that good to where, and we're in a roster situation where we can actually say, fuck them picks and try to get him. But we ain't trading Waddle. That ain't happening. That is not happening. I think his fantasy value is going to be high. I'm talking about Raheem Mostert. His fantasy value is going to be high depending on how many touches he gets this year and depending on how Mike alternates him with the other backs. Last year, he had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and, you know, he wasn't even clicking on all cylinders due to injury. But he still showed, like I said, both speed and power. Once we added Jeff Wilson, his carries did decrease, but they made a good tandem. And to start this season, Jeff is hurt and won't be immediately available. Coach put him on IR, and I think Chris Brooks is going to assume that power back role. Coaches have said that, you know, Chris has been one of the most impressive players so far this offseason. Y'all saw we utilized him near the goal line in after week 1 of the preseason. Week 2 and week 3, he showed that he can handle that goal line role and he can get up in there. Mike McDaniel also says that Jeff Wilson, the reason why he's out is because he had a midsection injury compounded by some finger issues. So the team decided that he couldn't really protect himself, which is why he didn't play in the preseason. Needs time to heal. I won't be surprised if he returns maybe week 2, week 4, hopefully. As for Devon Achane, he's likely to be ready for the season opener, according to Coach Mike. And, he got nicked up a little bit, but he's going to pair with Berrios to help us in special teams. And I believe that he's going to take some of them to the house this year. I expect him to take at least 1 or 2 of them to the house this year. As good as he is, and we've heard that he's the guy, I think we should limit his touches to maybe 5 carries a game. Just so we can get him fully acclimated into the season. If you look at how Shula treated running backs who he was going to use later on, or wide receivers, he always started them off on special teams. Clayton started on special teams before he paired with Duper. Troy Stratford might have played some special teams. OJ McDuffie was already good as a receiver in Penn State, had to start on special teams first. Well, actually, that was Jimmy Johnson who started him on special teams. But yeah, I mean that's how it. I think that'll be the best course of action for him. McDaniel expects Salvin Ahmed to be in the mix. He's been the most productive running back in preseason and even looked good last year pairing with Raheem, I think, when Jeff got hurt. And, they asked Raheem about Ahmed, and he pretty much said that he reminds him of himself. Knows how to be decisive when it comes to hitting that hole. And there are some similarities, so I'm happy with that. We did cut Myles Gaskin, which should have cut him last year, but we made the right decision there. At fullback, Allen Ingold is going to be the lone fullback option after releasing John Lovett. And we made an agreement with Alec Ingold, gave him a 3-year contract extension worth up to $17.2 million. And that deal is going to make him one of the highest paid fullbacks alongside 49ers veteran Kyle Juszczyk, which they call the Juice. And I know some fans are surprised by this deal, but I'm not, because the fullback is very, very key in the West Coast offense. Very, very key. And I don't see it as a wasted roster spot. Alec is experienced in the newer West Coast scheme that they run, and he's an exceptional lead blocker. I just want to get more on the same page with Tua. There were some plays that he left out on the field, some completions that he did not make that I want to see him make. And I definitely want to see improvement from him in the passing game for sure. But this deal is going to carry him into age 30. He's 27 years old, so props to you, Alec Ingold. Props to you. At the wide receiver position, we kept 6 wide receivers: Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson Jr., who's still on the squad, Eric Nzukama, Braxton Berrios, and take it to the River Craycraft. And we did sign former Jet and Panthers wide receiver Robbie Anderson, who changed his name to Robbie Chosen. He made a few catches in the preseason, but he was cut and then signed to the practice squad. I was honestly surprised by both his demotion and the confidence that we're showing in wide receiver Cedric Wilson. That could mean that a lot of things for both. It could mean that I'm not going to say Cedric has cemented himself as the number 3, because last year, if you notice, Mike took kind of a round robin approach to that number 3 spot. He had Trent Sherfield in there. He had Craycraft in there. He didn't have Nzukama in there, but I believe Nzukama is going to see some burn at the number 3 spot, and I expect. I think that's just a part of Mike's scheme. You don't know the number 3 receiver can be anybody and can be a different threat depending on what plays he wants to run and how he wants to attack. With River Craycraft, he's a savvy route runner. So if you don't have a good slot corner, he's gonna beat you every single time. Nzukama, I could tell that he's gonna use him on some jet sweeps, and on plays that's going to utilize a lot of his ability to get yak. And I also expect to see, I wouldn't be surprised if Braxton Berrios is utilized a lot in this offense as well. As far as the Cheetah and the Penguin, I'll definitely believe that they're going to pick up right where they left off. Tyreek told the media recently that last year he was just getting open. You know, he didn't really know the playbook as well. But this year, it's the second year in the same attack. So him and Waddle, they're going to know where to be out on the field even more, and they know the verbiage even more. So it's going to be bombs away again. I expect nothing less. At tight end, like I said, we only carry 2. We got to keep in mind that there's only one football to go around, and there's going to be some skeptical media heads, like I said, who think ego is going to stop our success. But I think Coach Mike is going to know how to distribute the ball and allocate it the right way. So I'm confident with that. Offensive line, we kept 10 offensive linemen: Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson, Kendall Lamb, Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, Lester Cotton, and Keon Smith. I like what I've seen from the O-line under Coach Frank Smith last year. This year's new O-line coach, Butch Berry, is going to be relied upon to strengthen this unit. And Chris added help also by signing vet Isaiah Wynn, who looked solid in the preseason. Connor Williams needs to stop with these damn high snaps because it's getting on my nerves. Teron Armstead has to stay healthy. But other than that, I'm good with the starters and backups. We added former New England Patriots guard Chasen Hines to the group also, but that signing was not really announced. Hopefully he could be a good depth addition. Now let's analyze the defense. Vic Fangio was taking over. He's going to be the man with the plan for this scheme, for this defense, for this unit. Starting with the defensive line, we got 5 D linemen: Christian Wilkins, Zach Seiler, Emmanuel Ogbah, Raekwon Davis, and Brandon Peely. Now, Peely is a name we knew all the other guys, but Peely's a new guy who came in as an undrafted free agent. He balled in camp and preseason. I think he moves really well for his size, but they say he does lack some depth, which he can improve on. The Dolphins gave him a $100K guarantee, so obviously Chris liked what he's seen, and there's some upside there. Shout out to Ryder McConville, who's a YouTuber. He made a breakdown video of Peely's play, and I did watch that and study that. And you know, also congrats to Brandon. He and Tua, they're familiar with each other also because they're both Samoan. So let's see how he integrates in the rotation with Raekwon Davis. Zach Seiler signed an extension, which I'm really happy for Zach, because y'all know I think Zach has, he's shown more dominance to me than Christian Wilkins, even though Christian Wilkins has been really, really good. I would have liked to see both him and the big Christianity get signed, but, you know, Christian wants to be paid top dollar. Per Chris Greer, he's going to revisit a deal with him and Tua next year, next offseason. At linebacker, we kept 7. We got Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Jerome Baker, David Long Jr., Andrew Van Ginkel, Duke Riley, and Channing Tindall. Tindall made plays in the preseason. He made some tackles. David Long looks like he's ready, like he's going to be a good addition for us next to Jerome Baker. So I'm interested to see how him and Baker work alongside each other. At cornerback, we kept 6 cornerbacks: Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Eli Apple, Kader Kohu, Cam Smith, and Kelvin Joseph. Jalen Ramsey, we was all happy about us signing him. I wanted to see him start in week 1, but he's injured. He's going to make a speedy recovery, I hope. Maybe we can see him in week 4 also. Kelvin Joseph, we acquired in a swap with the Dallas Cowboys. We ended up trading cornerback Noah Igbenogany in exchange for him. And when you look at his short career, Joseph, he entered the NFL as a second-round pick, 44th overall by Dallas in the 2021 draft. He's played in 26 career games with 3 starts, totaling 27 tackles, 23 solo, 4 passes defense, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. He also got 9 special teams tackles, 7 solo, and he's appeared in 3 postseason games for the Dallas Cowboys over the last 2 years. Before Dallas, He played collegiately with the Kentucky Wildcats and spent the 2018 season with LSU as well. So I think we brought him in because we know for sure that he can make plays in special teams. So I expect to see him there. At safety, we kept 5. We got Javon Holland, who's gonna be a future All-Pro, Pro Bowl in my opinion. Brandon Jones, who came back from, he worked his ass off to come back to this team. I think he's gonna still be another key blitzer for us in his defense, even though Fangio's running it, not Flores. Deshaun Elliott, we added him at depth for safety. Hopefully he can show that he can be a hard hitter. Elijah Campbell and Verron McKinley III is at safety. Our specialist is going to be Jason Sanders, kicking field goals for us. Jason, you better be clutch this year, my G. You better be clutch. You blew that Packers game for us, in my opinion. And I think that Vikings game, you better be clutch for us, man. Jake Bailey, we got him from the Patriots. He's a good punter. And Blake Ferguson. Blake got extended as a long snapper. Shout out to Blake. I'm happy for you. And hopefully you can stay on this roster for a long time. Last but not least, the practice squad. The announcement included the signing of cornerback Ethan Bonner, who's going to be the next Jason Sehorn. Ethan, I'm rooting for you, my G. Defensive end Randy Charlton, who made plays in preseason. He could have actually got on this 53-man roster as a depth player, but we decided to go with Peely. Tight end Tanner Connor, who was still hoping that we could see some upside from him, see that speed from him. Linebacker Cameron Good. He played decent in preseason, but he's going to have to show more. And Chris Greer, good for squeezing the juice out of players, not giving up on them too soon. Braylon Sanders, center Alama Uluave, who's also another Samoan that might make this team. Deshaun Hand, who you would have thought would have been in the rotation, but Brandon Peely ended up playing better than him in the preseason, so we went with him instead of Hand. But Hand, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him this season. Hand and Alexander are in their 6th year in the league, while Connor is in his 2nd. The rest of the players are either first year players with limited experience. So I think our practice squad players are a good addition as well. And hopefully we don't have to go to none of them, but hopefully we can see some of the younger UDFAs shine, and show that they can add some more tools. But that's all I got for this 53-man depth chart. I'm pretty sure that, we're going to have a better squad this year than we did last year. I hope so. But y'all let me know what y'all think about the 53-man depth chart. Do y'all think that maybe we should have added Deshaun Hand into the rotation with Raekwon Davis and Christian Seiler? Do y'all like the fact that Brandon Peely made this team? What do y'all think about Chris Brooks also making this team and us keeping 5 running backs and only 2 tight ends? Definitely would love to know y'all thoughts. That's all I got for this show. Till next time, signing off.